Oh my god, this might be controversial because I've been watching other people's YouTube videos and like other people's ratings about these books, and a lot of people really liked it, and I just felt really gross after reading it, and I was like, no, like I needed a palate cleanser. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Amin here, and I'm making my first reading related video on this channel. I've really gotten into reading in 2024 and I feel like it's really helped me through a lot this year. By the time I'm filming this video, I have finished 39 books this year, which I don't want to compare to anybody else, but that's a huge feat because my goal on Goodreads was 28. So having read 39 books, I thought it would be fun to walk you through some of the best books that I've read this year and the worst books that I've read this year. This is going to be part one of the series. We'll go through the worst books that I read this year. I have a lot of opinions, and if you have differing opinions, please share them down below. And then in the next part of this video, we will talk through the best books that I read in 2024. The rankings that I have are going to be on a 5-star scale, and I do use points. So I'll go like 3.75 or 4.5, but I will always round down when I'm on Goodreads because I feel like if it hasn't reached the whole number, it's not worthy of getting that whole number rating. I barely ever rank anything less than 3 stars because at that point, I likely would not have finished it. The way in my mind I think about it is 3 out of 5 is like a 60% if you were to submit this as an assignment. And so you finish the assignment, it's like, okay, you get a pass essentially, but is it good enough to like actually be an A, which a lot of them are not. And I'm very particular about what I give 5 stars to, which means like perfect, like no notes. Okay, so I have both my phone and my iPad so I can go through my list and then also remind myself through Goodreads of what that book was actually about. So the first not great book that I read in 2024 is called People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I've read a lot of Emily Henry books and I like a lot of them as well. This one I gave it 3.9 stars, and actually now that I'm looking on Goodreads, it's rated 3.86. So a lot of people feel very similar to how I feel. And then officially on Goodreads, I had to give it 3 stars because they don't do like half ratings. And so basically what this book is about like 2 people that are best friends, and obviously they fall in love, right? I'm not spoiling anything. Anybody that reads these books knows what the ending is like. And it's kind of like their journey about like, you know, drifting apart and then coming back together. She has very good stories, but the characters were just not likable. I didn't enjoy reading it. The storyline was okay. Her writing is fine, like I like her other books, but this one, in terms of romance, there's like a very clear like hit and miss, and I will go into it in the next part of the video where I talk about the books that I really liked, because there are romances that I liked, but this one, for whatever reason, I just couldn't get into it. I think it has to do with the characters and the storyline. I just did not love this one. Oh my god. This might be controversial because I've been watching other people's YouTube videos and like other people's ratings about these books, and a lot of people really liked it. So the next one that I really did not like is called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, and it has 4.14 stars on Goodreads. I gave it a 3.9, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was even less than that. I might have gotten swayed by the Goodreads reviews, and I try not to. Like I try to give my review as soon as I can without looking at any external factors so I can give my true and honest feeling. It was so hard for me to finish this book, like just how like it was just so nitty gritty, and the characters to me were not lovable. I found them quite annoying, honestly, and it was just boring. Like a lot of it was boring. It was hard for me to even get through this book. I know a lot of people that love this book, but maybe because it was different. Like basically these 2 friends, they come together and they create a video game, and then it's kind of like following their journey throughout the years. Like again, they kind of fall apart and then they come back together, and like their whole life, like from childhood, the reasons they were, like there were a few twists and turns and blah blah blah, but like it was just not it for me. It was really hard for me to finish, and for that reason, it was one of the worst books that I read in 2024. This book, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I would rate it that badly, but it could be. So this next book is called Keep It in the Family, and it's by John Mars. It's a suspense thriller mystery type of thing, which I've been reading books from all different genres, so you'll see that throughout my ranking as well. I gave this book 3.75 stars, which is actually not that bad. So it wasn't quite 4 stars because I predicted every single twist that happened. And like every time I read something that I predicted, I would essentially roll my eyes. Basically what the story is about is this couple, they're like newlyweds and they buy this house, and the house has a bunch of secrets and it's linked to the family. Essentially it comes down to like, there are shocking twists and turns. Like on Goodreads, the rating is 4.08, which is not terrible. But like, again, I found the characters, number 1, annoying. Number 2, everything was predictable, even the twists. Like I remember reading this, I think downstairs, like in the dining room or something. And like, I was just like ranting about how annoying it was. It was an okay story, like it wasn't terrible, but everybody in the story was annoying essentially, and I couldn't get into it. So this book I gave 3.5 stars. It's the Housemade Secret, so it's a number 2 of the Housemade series by Freida McFadden. I read number 1 in 2023 and I liked it. I gave it 4 stars, so like that's pretty good. Following the same character like in the next part of the book. I actually read this one pretty recently, so I remember the story, but essentially there's a girl and she works as a housemaid / nanny. And this time she's living, I think, in New York City, and basically the family that she's working for is kind of weird, and she's kind of weird too because she has like this criminal past and blah blah blah. So like the first one, I was like actually shook at the twist that happened at they're all like mystery thriller type books, so I was actually shook at the twist. And this one, the girl, I found her very annoying. So I can find, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I find a lot of these characters annoying, but she was just like, everything she did, I was like, why are you doing that? Like, why are you, like, no sane person would be doing the things that she was doing. So I didn't enjoy that. I didn't really enjoy the storyline either. Like, there was like some drama, suspense, and some romance that was kind of in there, but it wasn't as good as the first one. So I know that's a number 3 as well. I don't know if I'll be reading number 3 because the way I felt like I lost brain cells in this book, I just couldn't deal with it. And also the writing style, like there are some writing styles that I feel like, I don't want to say this, but like Colleen Hoover, for example, I don't like her books because I find that they're not like making my brain work. I don't know how to make sense. Like it's just, they just don't feel like an adult book to read. So that's kind of what I felt like. The sentences were very short. The words were like it just wasn't up to my standard of books. So I didn't enjoy that one. This one is pretty highly rated, it's 4.23 on Goodreads, and oh wow, it won a Goodreads award in 2023. I'm sure a lot of people like it. It just, that's a no for me. And number 3, I think number 3 is coming out. Oh, and number 3 came out this year in 2024, and so far is rated worse. So I might read it just for fun, but I probably will not like that one either. Then we gave 3.5 stars to Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed, and I read this book months ago. Yeah, I read it in May. I remember being very annoyed again by the books and the characters. Essentially what the story is it's about like race and privilege in terms of an incident that occurs for this girl who's again like a nanny for this family. So it's like a girl who I think is Black, and she is working for a family who is white, and an incident happens and kind of like how they navigate that incident. And it was fine, like the story itself was okay, but I feel like it's a very fine line in terms of like when you're speaking about something so serious. The characters were not it for me. The storyline was fine. I do think it could have been written better. Like it didn't blow my mind by any means, and I see on Goodreads it has 3.78 stars, so a lot of people didn't like it either. Actually, another thing, the friends that I have that read it actually really liked it, but it was like hard to read essentially. I also don't enjoy books that are like super modern, where it's like, ooh, like social media and like texting and all that stuff. Like I get it, but like when the whole book revolves around that, it makes it not enjoyable for me. So I didn't love that one. So I gave Happy Place 3.5 stars. It's another Emily Henry book, and you might think I'm an Emily Henry hater, but I'm not, I swear to you. There are books of hers that I like. This one was just not it for me. Essentially what the story is that there's a couple that has been together for a very long time. They break up and then they kind of pretend to still be together because they're going on this vacation trip with their friends, and they don't want to like ruin it for their friends. Again, it was very predictable. Romance books are meant to be predictable, but I feel like you need to add a little bit of like pizzazz or suspense to it, and that just wasn't there. So I've read 5 Emily Henry books, and my favorite one is Funny Story. That one's not going to be one of the best books that I read because it didn't rank as high as some other romance novels, but that's my favorite Emily Henry book. And again, it is predictable, but the characters are so likable and it's so real. And I think that's what her other books that I mentioned in this video lack, that they're just not realistic. Like, I would not imagine myself in these romance situations. Not that I ever would be in these situations and make these dumb decisions, but I just didn't like it. Like, the storyline was just lacking for me. Characters were annoying again, and she has better books out there. Again, this one might be controversial. I gave 3.25 stars to Yellowface, which is a very popular book. I remember reading this book on a flight and I was so angry when I was reading it. And I understand that was the point of the story, was to like get people riled up. It again has to do with race and privilege, which again is a very nuanced topic. So basically this book is about a white person stealing idea of a novel from someone who is Asian. And the entire book is about like their Asian experience / history from where their family is from. And so it comes off as really weird that number one, they're getting away with this. And it's kind of like that person's lies snowballing into like bigger lies and kind of like how they navigate that. And the main character, who is the stealer, they are so unlikable. Like, every single word that came out of this person's mouth, I was like, shut the hell up. Like, I cannot deal with you. I didn't even want to finish it because I was like, again, like, I understand the nuances of writing a book like this because you would want people to see how wrong they are, but this person, this like the stealer, like, they try to rationalize all their decisions, which I understand. Like, it's kind of like writing a book from the antagonist's point of view, which I understand. Like, I can read those books. It was just the antagonist was so unlikable that I couldn't finish it. I almost did not finish it. If I wasn't sitting on a flight, I might have not actually finished that book, but I didn't have another option. So I read it and I just felt really gross after reading it. And I was like, no, like, I needed a palate cleanser. I was just like not well after reading this book. So I did not like it. I see a lot of people on Goodreads did like it, but it has mixed reviews. Like, in general, the rating is 3.75 on Goodreads. So it has mixed reviews, but yeah, a lot of people said they didn't finish the book because the main character was so unlikable. And so that's exactly how I felt throughout this book. That takes us to the last book, which is the worst rated book that I finished in 2024, which is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. And this book is part of a 3-part series, and I read part 2 and part 2 was better, but I did not like part 1. It's very highly rated on Goodreads, but the way I felt like I lost brain cells in this book, it's a romance and it's basically people that are like very different lifestyles. They meet and they fall in love, right? Like, as expected. I love romances, so I'm not a hater about the storyline, but I found the main character to be so annoying that it was honestly like cringy. The entire book was cringy to me. And there are 2 other books kind of like in a series that play off of other characters that have been mentioned throughout. So I finished number 2, and number 2 was much better than number 1. Like, the characters are more likable, and I will be reading number 3 in 2025. So it wasn't the writing that was terrible or the storyline or whatever. It was honestly the characters. I could not get into it. She pissed me off so hard. So for that reason, I feel so bad saying this, but that was the worst book that I read in 2024. Even though that wraps up the rating system in terms of like the worst books that I read in 2024, there is a special shout out that I have to give to a book that I ranked 4 stars. So it's a book that was written fine, and like the writing style itself was fine. I was able to finish it. It was intriguing, but I really felt icky after reading it. Usually I would say anything I give 4 stars and above, I would recommend it. But this book, I kind of don't recommend it, and it is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I think that's how you say it. It was a very long book. It's the longest book I read in 2024, and it's over 700 pages. And this book was so hard to read, and I know a lot of people really like it. It's highly rated, it's super popular. Like, I know a lot of people have like cried throughout reading the book because there's so many terrible things that happen throughout it. But it could just be like maybe because of like my job or my background or whatever, that I felt kind of numb to how much bad shit was happening because it was so unrealistic. I don't want to say that, like, maybe there are people that have gone through this like in their life, but it's like, how can so many bad things happen to one specific person? Like one thing after the other, and then you get like really happy for this person, and then another bad thing happens, and another bad thing happens. And everything is told in such excruciating detail to the point where you're like, I don't feel good reading this. Like, I don't want to read this anymore. And the purpose of my reading most of the time is to kind of like get away from all the sad stuff that happens at work. Like, I have a very emotionally taxing job, so I want to read to kind of get away from that. So reading really sad books like this, like, it just kind of turns me off from the whole experience. And so the writing itself was fine. Like, I had no issues with the style of the writing, or like sometimes sometimes when I read a book, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like I'm losing brain cells by the way like it's written, like a sentence structure and stuff like that. So it wasn't that. Like, it was well written, the characters were very well developed, but the story itself, I just could not get into it. And so I had to give a special shout out because I have like very strong opinions about this book that's very popular, and I'm interested to hear everybody's opinions on the books that I mentioned. Like, if any of these are like your top 10 or even like top 20 books that you read and you disagree with me, please let me know. Like I said, I'm going to be making a part 2 of this video, which will go through my favorite books that I read in 2024. I will also link my Goodreads in the description below in case you want to keep up with everything that I'm reading in 2025. If you guys have any suggestions for books that I would like which don't involve annoying characters, please let me know in the comments below. And I wish you all a very happy new year. Like I said, this is the first book related video I made on my channel, but it's a really big part of my life, or has become a really big part of my life. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you want to keep seeing more. Let me know if you do. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.